You guys ready to make an attempt and then just keep rolling with it as we...
you got it, brother.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Hello again, VBL. We have returned, or I've returned from my cave after a few months of not making content to talk Pokemon with y'all, with the old elders in the VBL. I love you guys, and that's why I keep coming back. We are getting old these days, y'all. We're putting down babies, so some people, the parents of the group, will be joining us in a bit. But we have three of the longest time, best time VBL coaches. Your boy. Hi.
Hey.
We are not reviewing your team this time, are you? Are we? We gotta wait till the goggles conference. But pop in, and we're still alive, technically. These folks that all three of y'all were in season 1 and I joined season 2. But the Young Bucks, they've been winning the championship the past handful of seasons. So are we going to change that, folks?
Of course. What else
Absolutely.
are we here for?
All right, so I am drinking a High Noon. It is good. I have no thoughts. I'm not an aficionado of the drink.
Yeah, I've got a Asahi Super Dry. I had this when I was in Japan, and it's so good. They have this. This is like basically Japanese Bud Light, but it feels fancy.
Sounds fancy.
PBR in China is in glass bottles. They've like made themselves look premium.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I loved that in college. I got Cayman Jack Spicy Peach Margarita.
Spicy peach? Is it actually spicy?
Not really. It actually is sweet heat.
All right. I like
Still
it.
not spicy.
I'm just basic. I got a Michelob.
Well, we did it.
That is spicy.
Successfully drinking.
That's half the battle.
Well, I hate to tell y'all, my age has a 3 in it. I know y'all are, some of y'all are 20s, but we find old liberally. It's more.
I'm coming up.
But we can be just as reckless as when we were 18. It's just the recovery is way longer.
Just can't do it as often.
This is a work night. This is scary, guys.
Age VGC draft league. No more low tier. Back to plenty of power in this draft format. We have removed the legendaries. No more Fluttermanes, which is great. But this is still a plenty high power level. We still have Ursaluna Blood Moon. We still have Primarina. And a lot of our tier list really gave you lots of bargains. So I feel like the power level is high. The teams are really good. We're going to have to calibrate as we go because this looks like a great team. The first one we have in front of us, which is Heaven's team, now rebranded as the Primarina Marine Conservatory. Who wants to talk about this one?
I'll gladly take the lead on that one. My name is in the corner. I was supposed to prep for this. I didn't quite, but let's take a look at what we got. I'm really glad that Heaven managed to pick up Primarina for this. Otherwise, this would have been a very depressing rebrand. I know Primarina is a hot commodity, and other coaches in the league may not have been as lucky as Heaven is to pick up such a successful Mon. But what I like to see here, there's a lot of good pieces on this team. We have Primarina, Hizora, Kasui, a great pair of Hyper Voice spammers. You got the Water type one, and you got the normal type one. And sometimes the normal type one looks like the Water type one, so you make a bad switch here and there. I think Zora Kasui is really fun Mon. I think Heaven's gonna get a lot of use out of it. Yep. But hey, you got the Water and the Fairy. Let's take a look at the rest of the core there. You got Magmortar, a pretty decent fire type. Redirection is always great with Flame Body. Decently powerful too. I used to use this thing back on Pokemon Battle Revolution on the online battles. The bring 6, pick 3 singles. It definitely was a Mon. Exactly. We're dating ourselves here. What year did that game come out? I think it probably came out before a lot of the people in the league were born. Anyways, beyond that, we have a lot of other good Mons here. Salamence is a great dragon, Bronzong is a great steel, and Sarina is a pretty good grass type, doesn't hold a candle as Sceptile. Just kidding, Sceptile is cheeks. What do you guys think about this team? I think it overall is really well-rounded, except for Squawkabilly, who particularly does not synergize with Heaven as a coach, as we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I missed like every single hustle move. So I really Heaven joined our league and was typically like a more bulk-oriented defensive player, and I'm always heckling those folks because I believe like this is like I'm the devotee of the Church of Offense, and Heaven has seemingly adapted to a faster pace, and especially when like when you don't have Fluttermane and Chien-Pao in the format, this is a very fast team. I mean, just in terms of raw speed, but we also have an Unburden option, we have priority options, we have a Tailwind option. Heaven is up to the gas, and I'm really happy to see. I feel like this team has got everything, like, by the book. You've got your Fairy Dragon Steel, you've got your Water Fire Grass, but you've got good speed tiers, you've got a good Trick Room setter, you got a good Tailwind. It seems like it's got everything, and I'm just wondering, like, do all the teams have everything in this higher power level environment we have? Is there any easy way to look through this team? I mean, yes, we do have type weaknesses. It's kind of hard to end up without those some of the time, but the team's defensive profile is okay. I think with Intimidate, potentially a second Intimidate, with Redirection, we can put, I mean, Weavile can click Snarl and things, Reflect. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a fair amount of defensive tools. The defensive numbers are not as good as the offensive numbers. It looks like this team is offensive, but maybe it kind of has everything. So maybe this ends up towards the top.
So yeah. I want to say one thing before you go, Boom. I typed this joke in the chat of Zoom, and I don't know where it shows, but I looked it up. Pokemon Battle Revolution came out in 2007, the same year Braff came out. Over to you, Boom.
It came out into this world.
No, I think this team's very well built. I think it's got about everything. I mean, that attack stat, you look at it right there, and that's what you're going to focus on 80% of the time when you're prepping for this team, is to make sure you don't get murdered by that attack stat. Now, that special attack stat's still solid too, so you've got to prep for a lot of different threats coming. He can bring any of these mons every week, I think. So maybe a little less Sceptile, and Squawkabilly's history isn't great on Heaven's team, but I mean, it's just an all-around great team. The only knock I can say is Zoroark. I think it gets some utility out of Illusion with Primarina, but I don't think it gets the full utility you would get if it was like coming in for something that maybe has a weakness, like a Steel type or something like that, a pure Steel, a pure normal type, where you can kind of misdirect some of those fighting type moves or something along those lines.
Yeah,
you're not going to get
right
quite
there.
the Weavile, the Rhydon
type plays, yeah, because there isn't at the pairings we might expect for it.
But it's a great team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at this and trying to think about if I was to prep against this team. There's not much that I see as a kind of starting point. Heaven has like all the good types and good Pokemon of each of those types. The only negative I can say is if Heaven's going against another team that is dominant Trick Room, you might have some issues. Bronzong is not the most reliable Trick Room setter. Obviously, it will never die, but it can get fake outed. It can get taunted. It can get whirlwinded out. But Rhydon is incredibly bulky and hard to get rid of. But other than that, there's not too much in terms of Trick Room. But honestly, I guess I'm just looking for the smallest nitpicks. This is a great team, obviously. Yeah. Bronzong Rhydon is a good Trick Room core. You got Levitate, you got Earthquake. So I'm just looking for the minor nitpicks.
If we bring our standards up into the ceiling, it's like the natural speeds are good, but like it's not so fast I can't scarf past it. We don't have Prankster, we don't have the fastest of Tailwinds. I'm nitpicking. Like we do kind of lean on Weavile as our only fake out. I'm thinking Scarf Rock Slide's kind of good here. I don't know. I'm nitpicking. This team's real good. Heaven, good job. I'm going to put it in the A tier and figure out the details as I go. Any big dissent there? Any top tierers?
I don't want to say top tier yet, but
I'm open
maybe by
to
the end of this.
I think A's right about where I'm thinking, at least for the first team.
One last detail, we are Tera Preview this season, so you get to, as soon as you enter the match, you see everyone's Tera type, which doesn't change the game that much. When we still got Tera, we still got that surprise factor of who's going to Tera and when, but you're not as rewarded for bullshit, like random Tera Blasts, and like turning out at the end of the game that you have no way to hit a fairy or a poison. Like, so you get to see that info in advance, and I think this team, like those kind of typing cores, you can't be a Frostmoth and then surprise people with a random Tera and win. So I think like these mons that don't need to Tera, that have really good typings, Primarina has the goated typing, Zoroark too. Rhydon needs to Tera, but frankly, I can tell you I'm Tera Fairying my Rhydon, and it's still a massive hassle to deal with. So I think the team is really, really well built in all dimensions, and it's just about how they execute. Moving on. Oh, this is a concept. Yeah, so I volunteered to talk about this one. So this is Purple Rain's Damascus Drifblims, a goal for this team, which I'm going to draft top heavy. I'm planning to be busy during the season, and I want a team that's scary and will kind of pilot itself. So he definitely did that. Like, this is a team. You can maybe trust him to get one or two uses out of these bottom three, but like this is an 8 8-mon team, and even when it's an 8-mon team, like, it's not quite 8 totally different mons. We've got multiple psychic types, we've got multiple ghosts, we got 2 grasses. This is a team that is leaning very hard on winning a certain couple of ways. Ursa Luna under Trick Room, you die. Like, literally almost everything in the format just dies to Terra Normal Guts Boosted Facade. Like, Excadrill resists it and just dies. It's hilarious. And then the ones that can survive this probably don't want to be taking Torkoal Eruptions in Trick Room. They probably can't also be taking Expanding Forces by Hatterene. But I generally am skeptical of, like, I know I want Trick Room every single week because I find that it's hard to win consistently. Like, all the games come down to turn 1 and turn 2. Do I have my perfect setup? Do they have the perfect answer to stop my Trick Room? Like, I find that that's kind of tough to predict. But if you're gonna have a team that's really Trick Room focused, your other dimensions need to pull people in totally opposite directions. And I think this does that really well. Like, if you're gonna only have a couple of fast pieces, Lilligant and Sun has 1 billion speed. Unburdened Driftblim is very fast and can make everything fast with it. A Scarf Indeedee by itself with 3 other Trick Room mons can be like an excellent way to close out a game. Ursa Luna can function under Tailwind. So I think Purple leaned on the extremes, and I'm left wondering, is this a great team, even though it simply does not have the variety that we've seen from Heaven and we're going to see in some of the other teams? If you have a few extremely good things that together are unpredictable, is that enough for a great team?
I think you know what this honestly reminds me of? This reminds me of Bohm's team when he first joined the league.
I was thinking the same thing.
All you old heads know it. This is history never repeats, but it rhymes.
And This is Gigalith now. It's
yeah, that's Gigalith.
Yep.
Little stronger, but it's Gigalith.
Yeah, dude. Also, speaking of Ursa Luna, I was running the calc. Clefable is on average, if you watch my video, Clefable is like,
it was good.
Thanks, man. Clefable is on average the bulkiest, like exactly midpoint for physical bulk. Guts, Flame Orb, Ursa Luna, Terra Normal, one shots Clefable if it's max. So that's at least automatically half the format dead to that one mon. And obviously, it's so scary to prep about. Torkoal is also about as equally scary. This is an interesting experiment. I'll be really curious to see, because obviously Purple's a great coach, so that's a bit of a confounding variable. But if there's any kind of team from ladder that you would take into draft and have it do well, I would think it'd be kind of a Sunroom team where you have those dual modes where one is incredibly fast and the other incredibly slow. If I'm prepping against this team, I don't know where to start. Like, it's obvious what you do against each mode, but I don't know which mode to value highest. It's really intimidating.
Yeah, it's like we have four mons that can win you this game usually. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but together, some are extremely fast, some are physical, some are special, some are untauntable Trick Room setters, some are unkillable Trick Room setters. So it's doing a lot with relatively fewer mons. So it's quality over quantity here. I do think, like, once you see that they're playing for Trick Room, or once you see that they're playing for an Eruption Sweep, if you have the right Terror, you can win. It's like they don't have that many backup options. Like, they don't function that well as independent pieces. Like, Primarina functions regardless of whether it's going first or not, regardless of whether it's bulky or specs or whatever. And I'm not sure if they all have the same flexibility.
I guess I don't see the Terras coming into play as well as it would if you could Dynamax instead. And that's a small knock, but I just think this team will struggle a little more in this format than old formats. I
think this team uses offensive terrestrialization really well. You use Terra Normal or Terra Ground and Ursa Luna, Terra Fire Torkoal every time, Terra Psychic. I think they both learned Expanding Force now. If not, whichever one learns Expanding Force, you use Terra Psychic on it and just kill everything. So it's, again, a very interesting experiment.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it goes this season.
I'm a little, it's maximum scary factor, which was the talk today. It's like very quantitative metric there, the scary factor. But the scary factor is high, but I feel like if I've got a Goggles and a Terra Ghost and a Terra Fire, then I just need to click the right one at the right time. And a Terra Dark. And I get that, you can't Terra all three at the same time, but, is there any way to truly match the variety that you can get out of some of the teams we're going to see with 8-mon? So I think this is going to end up in A for different reasons for me, where I think it's very good, but I can't quite tell whether it's better or worse than Heavens.
Yeah, I guess that remains to be seen. I'd say A, this is a great team. and Heavens is a great draft.
Yes.
Check this out. I got one too.
Oh,
That's dope.
I thought I saw some squishes back there. What do those glasses say?
it's from my university.
Ah, sick.
They fit perfectly. It's like, how could I not? Still can't see
Okay,
it.
we're back. Camo and the Pittsburgh Piplups are next. Camo's teams are without fail funky and full of style and pairings, but this is not the style rankings. This is the power rankings. Is this a great team? Question mark.
So yeah, I kind of really like this team right off the bat. I think Wheezing and Sneasler's a great pairing. Sneasler's doing some decent work in the new format so far. I see it popping up a lot more often. I used it 2 or 3 seasons ago with very little success. I mean, you're not going to get a much faster, stronger, unburdened Pokemon. And I mean, next to Galarian and Wheezing setting up Misty Surge, you can't burn it. You can intimidate it if it's not already like beating you down by that point. Toadscroll does Rage Powder, Spore Things. Noivern for Tailwind's always great. Crocodile, decent Intimidate Mon, not bad at all. Blastoise does not get Follow Me anymore, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Plenty of support moves on this thing, starting with
Right. Yeah, plenty of things it can do still. I loved it, Espeon last season. Ampharos, I mean, I think it could do some things with P2. That was going to be my biggest gripe initially when looking at this team was, what does Porygon do with this squad? And I guess you got Coppershot, you got Ampharos. I mean, you can lower the speed on a couple of these mons to make them viable under Trick Room. So it's got its place for sure. So, I mean, it's definitely got different ways to hit you hard. And every one of these mons, again, can come each week. It just depends on what the matchup looks like. So I think overall it's a really well-built team. Good offenses, good defense. Actually, nothing's below an 80. Nothing's below an 81. That's a pretty solid team across the board.
I'm going to push back a little bit. Not that it's not a good team. Not that I didn't agree that, for example, Noivern is a good Tailwind setter. And Crocodile, I'm a believer. And I definitely am a believer in Sneasler. I'm wondering if the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And this is just me trying to be tough, because it seems like at the rate we're going to like every team. So it's like... Camo had the wheel, and I would think that we would have some rock solid synergies. People have noted the Sneasler in Misty Terrain. We have Toadscroll's ability canceling is quite good for it. This is an Earthquake duo, and this is some Backbone. I'm not sure if these pieces quite amount to the kind of hustle I would like. It seems like Caparaja kind of needs the Trick Room, right? It's a fine mon, but it needs the Trick Room to be deadly. Can I just taunt the Pokemon? Like, just taunt these two. Like, do we have a lot of hustle out of Noivern? It is fast, it can provide Tailwind, but it's not that strong. I guess with Draco specifically, I guess Espeon, the Espeon is a good upgrade in terms of like, can I start swinging out the gate? I'm starting to wonder if the team is a little bit slower going than you would think, and that some of the things that it wants to do you can bash through it before it gets to do those things, or you can taunt before it gets to, like, there are prankster taunts out here, and then it's like we've covered now all of the speed control option. Maybe I'm just being a Debbie Downer, though.
I don't think you're being a Debbie Downer, Jordan. Don't worry about that. I think there's only a couple things on this team that are immediately off the bat super duper threatening. Sneasler is one of them, and Caparaja, specifically in Trick Room, is the other. I don't necessarily think that this team is bad by any means. It seems like every team this season is at least good. The only things that I particularly worry about is that in terms of the immediate offense, like you said, Espeon and Sneasler do have the highest stats, but Mono Psychic is like the worst type in the game, in my opinion. Boom, I don't know if you disagree, because you did use Espeon pretty successfully last season. Granted, it was low tier, but it just doesn't have the power or coverage that it necessarily needs. Pieces on this team that I do like a lot individually. Galarian Weezing is always fun, does crazy things. Porygon 2 is, I think I'm biased, it's one of my favorite Pokemon. on the whole, this team isn't bad. I just think that, like Jordan said, it's particularly kind of taunt weak. I mean, Weezing, Porygon 2, Toedscruel, I guess not Espeon, but those big three are pretty important pieces that are kind of just taunt bait.
It feels like we're getting the budget versions of some of these guys. And yeah, this is a premium Trick Room setter. And maybe I don't have to say a but there. This is a premium Trick Room setter, but can we build around the Porygon 2? I mean, we saw in low tier, even Porygon 1 is a pretty reliable chunk through type of mon. Is this team equipped to play long games? Does it have stuff like Heal Pulse or Life Dew? Blastoise has Life Dew. Maybe it can play some bulky games with Intimidate. Maybe. I mean, if you've got Intimidate and you've got Redirection, where's our Redirection? Yeah, with Toedscruel, then maybe we set up Ceruledge and then we become unkillable and we win. And we Bitterblade through the team. So yeah, like this is not saying that Camo can't win with this team. It's just whether or not this team is going to, on average, have an uphill fight of needing to slow down the game long enough to get some offense going. So I'm going to put it in B tier, and I'm wondering if I've just been a little bit like we need to raise our standards to the ceiling now.
Right. I think the only one other thing to note is, I mean, you can just bring Galarian Weezing just to turn off another team's abilities and try to outpace them in that way too. I mean, that's the nice thing about that.
Like Boom, or not Boom, the Purple's team. Like we were talking about these like goated abilities, but like with this Indeedee without terrain is not quite the same.
Right.
That's not Indeedee.
Yeah.
It's not Indeedee. It's just D.
I'm gonna say right now, like this Weezing is a ground weakness. I know it technically can levitate, but you're getting more mileage out of the other two. Mm-hmm. So like this is a pretty ground weak team. But the other stuff, like we have everything. Like I feel like I was struggling in part because this is a lot of different capable Pokemon. I think it's just a lot of good Pokemon where we might be seeing next a lot of great Pokemon. Or never mind.
I definitely think this is
the wife draft. This is Firefall. So
I love wife drafts.
Here we go.
Firefall's wife had a good amount of say in these picks, and so I think it's a little random and adorable, definitely adorable, and certainly usable. But Poppin, is this a good team?
I think this is a great wife team. And like you said, I think as Bohm and I are fellow wife draft enjoyers, top thing of a wife draft based on last season is the aesthetic of the mods, which is important because not all of us are into Pokemon competitively, and that's totally fine. The aesthetics of a team are important, and I think that helps add to the victory that Firefalls will inevitably get with this team. Starting off, Ursaluna Blood Moon was going to be my round one pick. I think it's the best mod in the format, which is why it was 22 points. Obviously, it has a lot of weaknesses, but, Terra Normal turns it down to one weakness, and then you're off to the races. Sylveon is another incredible one of the best fairy types. It might have been the most expensive fairy in the format. I don't exactly remember. And then Meowscarada is another great mod. The top three picks of this team, actually top four, are all really, really, really good. Male Meowstic is incredible. It has the same plus some extra moves as female Meowstic, which I know, Jordan, you and I were big fans of last season. And then you have Vaporeon Magmar. Good, decently bulky core. Vaporeon more so than Magmar. But hey, a Violet's a hell of a drug. And I think on this team, it's a lot of offense right off the bat with those first three picks. Obviously, all different styles of offense. Two bulky ones, one super fast, speedy one. You have the different Trick Room options to make it work in a slower mode. Obviously, you are lacking in terms of Tailwind and a lot of other pretty important moves. And you can't bring Fake Out on... You can't necessarily bring Thicket every week. Meowstic is just slammed for move slots. Palmont and Wartortle could probably fit it, but those aren't every week to week brings. If you can stop this team from setting up Trick Room, you're going to have a lot easier time than if you can't. But that's all I basically got. Better,
yeah. A fair amount of is on Meowscarada's shoulders as some immediate fast mode. But Palmont, I think, is going to be pretty good. And honestly, I think... my vibes were like this team doesn't seem precise or intentionally drafted because, like, spoilers, it isn't. So, Jordan. But like, so it's like, Firefalls was like, pick a Trick Room setter. Here's 20, and then his wife would pick one. But leaving that aside, I think we have everything we need to work with. Whimsicott went round 1, Grimmsnarl went round 2. Meowstic is the kind of mon that is not quite the best prankster out there, but it really is premium in terms of all the things it can do. So, like, in terms of, like, this team has a premium support, and it got it in round 4. It has ground power and fairy power, the best combo. We have water power, we have fire power, like a fair amount of monotypes, so maybe we don't have all the different types of power, but together you're not resisting water and fairy and ground. So I think the team having 3 different Trick Room setters, even if like Slowbro's the one that is most reliably going to have it, and Meowstic might need to sneak it into its moveset, and Meowscarada, it's the surprise factor of it having Trick Room, but we have some ways to get up Trick Room, and we have bulky enough mons and different dimensions. It's like you're not beating Vaporeon the same way that you're beating Ursaluna. I guess the team is special heavy, so it's like Snarl maybe is the way, but let's say they have Covert Cloaks and Clear Amulets. It seems like the team kind of has everything, and just the fact that it looks adorable does not mean it doesn't have basically everything it needs to go fake tears and to kill you, fake tears and to kill you, fake tears and to kill you.
Yeah, one thing I think that it's hiding too is he's got the ability to put up the swamp.
The swamp.
Not something you're initially looking
War
for.
Total, yeah, obviously.
Not what you're looking for initially, but I can kind of take care of some of the Trick Room issues there.
So, it's a good team. How does someone have a secret tech to break the team? Because otherwise we have to call it like above average, right? Mm-hmm. It's a good team.
I'm not ready for the most expensive Pokemon to be possibly revived.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a bit scary.
That's true.
Very true.
And it's like when you got Quick Claw, Quick Draw, 44% of the time you go first every time. Mm-hmm. I think the team's really good. I honestly, no complaints. Good job, Mrs. Pancham Pianist. For me, I'm putting it at the top B. In fact, whenever you guys disagree with it, just be like, no, wrong, because like I'd love to hear that.
No, wrong. I'd say it's below Camos, but TBD.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I think we're just getting closer to the wife season.
I can't wait for that.
Learning.
Tournament. All right, so Steve's challenge, because you know there is one, is all of these mons have Final Gambit, Explosion, Self-Destruct, Misty Explosion, a way to kill themselves, which has generally been a thing Steve has done, and I'm going to just start it off by saying Steve with a Smeargle has me immediately petrified, right? Like,
my first thoughts too, man.
People have not gotten the full out of Smeargle. I get that it's a piece of garbage, right? It will die, and at most 2 hits every single time. But it's like, if you're really stretching what it can be doing, like with Fake Out and Follow Me and Spore and I don't know what else the heck you could do. You could do Shell Smash. Why not? Shell Smash, Population Bomb. It's a thing. I really think Steve is gonna make is gonna get a ton of mileage out of the Smeargle, and frankly, he needs to, because I think the team is not the fastest. It likes its setup turns, like the Belly Drum, like the Bulk Ups. And so I think we need this as our redirection to get some of these mons going. Look, we need our redirection in Smeargle to get the Tailwind. We don't have fast Tailwind or anything, and we need redirection in order to get the Trick Room. Like, Chandelure is powerful, but it is not the most reliable Trick Room setter. So it's like the team is not stretched in terms of speed. I like very slow, I like very fast, I like priority. This team doesn't have a ton of that, but it does have a Smeargle, which means it has everything. What are y'all's thoughts?
I don't know how to look at this team. I'm sure Steve will make great use of it. I see a lot of honestly, a lot of possibility with just Chandelure next to like a banded Metagross or something like that. I don't know if Chandelure gets any like helping hand. I'm sure Annihilate gets helping hand. It's kind of a Gen 1 mon. It gets every move in the game. So you turn 1, helping hand. Let's see what do we got? What do we got for helping hand?
Plenty of helping hand.
Plenty of helping hand. Beautiful. Unfortunately, Chandelure is not one of the beneficiaries. It does not have hands, therefore should not learn helping hand. But lots of explosions, lots of things to worry about. This is a very Steve team, and hopefully this is not his last season with us. Maybe he'll take a season off to, raise his kid or whatever. But maybe, hopefully he'll be back. All fingers crossed. But this is a hell of a Steve team. I am very excited to see all the moves that Smeargle uses this season. Steve will absolutely be reading Bulbapedia like a encyclopedia to learn all the different sorts of things that it uses.
The explosions are not just a gimmick. We got two ghosts here. We got Zoroark, so you don't even see the explosion coming. I kind of like. I think it's more than Steve will do it because he likes to explode. I think it's going to actually be pretty effective.
I wonder if anything on his team has copycat.
Smeargle.
I mean, Smeargle does.
Well, other than Smeargle.
But nothing has it at, like, Prank.
He doesn't have any cats on his team. I think Zoroark gets copycat because I remember seeing a video of it using signature moves while disguised as a Diglett, and I thought that was funny.
Is there any, like, the main thing I hit on is just it's just not fast? And it's not, like, it doesn't have the premium speed control, so it does have to take hits that not all of the mons are designed to hit or to take. Like, Shiftry does not want to be taking the hits. It is the fake out, but it is also the tailwind, and you can't be take a fake out and tailwind at the same time.
I think that covers everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not a rating of how Steve will do, because you never know. But I think I have to put this below the ones we've ranked so far.
Yeah,
And that makes me.
That's the thing about
good.
these tiers. It's like it's really awkward balancing teams versus coaches.
yeah.
I guess we have priority in Azumarill, right? If we find a fake out belly drum, we are cooking. Azumarill is really great, and I'm sure Steve will enjoy it. Sly's team. Is this a team? Is this a sushi and half of a team? That's what I wonder.
Go first. I think Purple's trying to get in. He says,
Okay. Then let's go let him in.
Woo! Have fun editing the setup, Jordan. Sorry, dude.
Oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Exactly.
Hi, Purple.
Hello.
Hi.
Don't mind the fact that you're doxing yourself.
Yeah. Hi, Grant.
Hello.
People have to be
What are you
metadataing this video to figure it out, to put it all together.
Triangulate the positions in the stars.
okay, so personally, when I'm looking at a Dozogiri team, I like looking at the pieces around it. I personally think that's truly what makes the team. Like the Arcanine, it's a really solid mon. If you got your Fire, Water, Grass, Superior, I like to think that it's strong, but you never. It tends to disappoint in my experience. We have the Fabled, the Wigglytuff. We have the sneaky Perish Trap mode.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Carbonal is I think is like a solid Trick Room mon. I was definitely looking at it. I definitely think the Open Terra hurts it a little bit.
Sure.
But honestly, like Carbonal Dondozo itself makes a decently solid Trick Room core.
Do we not have special attackers? Because
No, sir.
I'm convinced is complete garbage.
Well, they have the toxicity.
Oh, well, right, and we got multipliers with its ability, so this is our main special threat. My thought is, like, we know that the sushi combo, as your boy mentioned, is gonna run through draft teams because, like, you need multiple counters for this thing. Like, in Draft League, all of these three abilities can mess you up. All of the items, like, oh, it's like, I'm gonna charm this thing down, and then it's got a clear amulet, and so I lose. Or it's like, I think I can encore this thing and lock it, but then it's a choice band. It's an assault vest. It's just killing me while I'm trying to mess around with it. So, like, it's very, very unpredictable, and so you need multiple counters. But we've taxed the shit out of it at this point. Like, Tatsugiri as a 20-point mon is hilarious to me. I feel like we're feeling the loss of some of these points. It feels like it's not quite a full team outside of the sushi, but obviously we need to give full respect that this thing just steamrolls through games. Like, it seems like, given a limited budget, Sly did a really good job with, in terms of, like, my game plans are not that complicated, right? I've got a priority Tailwind, I've got a nuclear bomb known as Arcanine, and I've got a special nuclear bomb known as Toxtricity. It's like, and I've got fake outs. So it's like, we have to play balls to the wall when we're not playing Dozo mode. Maybe we set a Trick Room, though Gothorita is pretty taunt bait in my understanding of it. But so it's like, we have essentially two ways to play, and the Dondozo is a lot of variations in itself, and Kill You Fast is very hard to handle. I mean, these Mons have coverage, they have other things, and we have fake out, and Persian controls the game. So it's like we're very good in a couple of ways, but this is not a full team. And it's like it feels hard for me to say that this compares with the other teams we've seen so far, just because it doesn't feel like it has as many dimensions to it.
One thing I will say is I am absolutely a superior believer, but I don't think its place is on a team with Dondozo. You're going to bring haze, you're going to bring clear smog as often as possible, and Superior gets absolutely demolished by the same things that beat Dondozo. I do love Superior. I was highly considering drafting it, but I did not end up with the points for it, so I hope Slime makes good use of it. I really think it could do a lot of great work. I do love that Mon, but I'm not sure if it pairs with Dondozo quite as well as it would in theory, unless it plays kind of a more of a supporting role with just Glare, Leech Seed. So I think at dual screens, it does get both of those, which is pretty cool.
I think you need to run the Glare here because like most of the other supporting capabilities, like we cloak through half of what Persian does. We cloak through this Icy Wind. We cloak through this Fake Out. So it's like, what is our support move that doesn't get cloaked? It's the Glare. So it maybe can work, but it's not. You're right. It's not going to do the thing that it is born to do quite as easily.
Yeah, I definitely think this team is better than the Tatsudozo team that I drafted in season 12, which was one of my worst performing seasons ever. I tried to go way too hard in on the I'm going to stall out the game with Wo Chien and Glamora and Poison You and Leech Seed You. I think this has the offense immediately, and then oops, I brought Tatsugiri Dondozo in the back. You're dead. You can't finish this off. And I think that's on the back of Volbeat and Arcanine and Toxtricity. Those three are the big ones that hopefully can deal enough damage in the early game to have Dondozo Tatsugiri clean it up. And I don't know. It makes it a little bit harder to map your game plan out.
Does this team have the offense immediately? Like, I'm looking, like, obviously Dondozo Giri, right? Like, that's big offense immediately. Our Arcanine for sure does good work offensively, but like Superior wants to set up. Toxtricity gets blown up pretty quickly. Like, it does have offense, but it needs to be set up to do well with it. And I'm not sure the defensive tools are good enough for it. Like, that's how I felt my team was last season, and I had Gotharita, Persian, Alola, but like that was a low tier season where those two were like top tier defensive Mons. And I don't know if they'll facilitate that setup in a higher tier format. And I think that that's how this team would want to play most of the time, and I don't think it's good enough at it. But like maybe I'm undervaluing Arcanine.
Well,
like that's the one thing where I'm like,
has to play balls to wall when it's not doing the sushi plan. But it's like, if most of the offense is coming from these two, I mean, maybe you banned the Braviary, maybe you get Crabominable fast enough with Tailwind, but it's like this team just doesn't have as many threats. I'm just not sold on Gotharita plus Persian plus Volbeat. It seems like we have good support here, but it's almost like if we're spending 30 on sushi and we're spending 30 on support, we just don't have enough for offensive dimensions. So I'm going to put this at the bottom of where we have it, but not in C tier. It's still B tier for me. Does anyone thinking it's better than I think it is and I'm just being rude?
Sorry, the one thing I want to quickly mention too is the two offensive pieces are both quad, like that we were talking about, are both quad weak to ground.
Yeah.
Ooh, and they're not fast automatically. They do usually want an Icy Wind or a Tailwind with them. Yeah.
And so, like, obviously you have ways to deal with ground types in Dondozo, Superior, Tatsugi, like that deal. But all you need is a ground coverage move because they're quad weak.
Fair enough. So it's a cool experiment, and Sly can do anything, but the team is a little lower than the other ones I've got. Onwards, this is my friend, Poosp. Hi,
Poosp.
It's hilarious. But he goes by the Monterey Mamoswines. This is his first VGC draft, and just like he hasn't done a lot of VGC either. So I mean, he's played through all the games, of course, and we've played all of the video games together. But I suggested, like, he's like, I want to play aggro. I'm like, aggro makes sense. That was Bohm when you were advising your friend, brought him into the league. You're like, I want to be asking the questions, right? Like, it's easier to pilot if you're running them over. You don't have to worry about what they have if you've already run them over. So we've got the Whimsicott. We have premium offensive pieces like Mamoswine and Gengar, but I didn't I didn't tell Poospa what to pick. I just suggested, and like the Gudra Hisui came out of nowhere. I never mentioned that, and I think that's an awesome mod. So I think this looks like a team that you would draft after playing Draft League for a year or two. It looks mature, it looks versatile, it looks full of tools, it looks like it's got a range of speed tiers. It's got Trick Room defense. It's probably not winning with Trick Room, but it can function by slowing the game down against some Trick Rooms. So it feels like it's just a good team. And like if I didn't tell you that he didn't play a lot of Draft League, you wouldn't know it. What do y'all think?
So I've already started prepping for this a little bit, and the first night I sat down to look at it because I think he's my week 1 matchup. Mm-hmm. I'm just staring at my phone for 15 minutes. I had to close it and just go to bed. I just don't know where to start on it. Clearly, it has good priority tailwind. It's got good attackers. I mean, it's got good bulk. I think there's just a lot of different ways this team can function, and it's with it being a new coach in the league, you just don't know what direction they're going to take it. And I mean, look at the offenses are great. Both offenses are right around the same level, 93, 91. Anything could come, and it's just overall it's just scary. I'm not sure what to expect or what to prep for just yet. I'm going to try to find a game plan and go with it. But like you said, it's a team that just wants to get out and attack you. And that's the scary thing about those teams.
Yeah, I think Whimsicott was an amazing first pick if you want to be an aggro team. Because, I mean, literally anything in the game pairs good with Whimsicott if it has an attack stat over like 120. And hey, you pair it with Mamoswine, the best offensive typing in the format. Mm-hmm. So you can just immediately, hey, turn 1 I-Click Tailwind and or Earthquake because Whimsicott resists it, or Icicle Crash, or maybe you want to do something crazy and go for the Freeze Dry because, you know, that's the best move of the game, IMO. But I think this team has access to a lot of incredibly powerful offensive pieces right off the bat that are supported by Whimsicott. And then Gudra Hisui is, I think, the piece that ties it all together. Mm-hmm. And good on Poosp. That's a lovely name. But good on Poosp for recognizing the Gudra Hisui is such a good Pokemon because you have the incredible offensive output of particularly like Charizard and Mamoswine, and then they get down to their last couple pieces and oops, my out to Gudra Hisui is already dead, and then it just acid armor body presses me into hell and I can't do anything about it. And that's assuming that you didn't already get run over by a Tailwind, Sunny Day, Charizard, Scoville, and either of those do incredible damage with the support from Whimsicott. And then also the low tiers are legitimate mons. It's not like the Alolan Sandshrew like we saw on Firefall's team. Honchkrow for 3 is worth way more than 3 Alolan Sandshrews. Probably Sandslashes.
Heatwave.
Exactly.
I have lost an entire team to 2 Charizard Heatwaves and Sun. It is no joke, everybody. What else? So let's try to drill holes. Like let's help Bohm out. How are we approaching this team if we're trying to look for a weak point? Maybe some grass weak.
I would definitely say Trick Room is probably the way to go. Like you might have mentioned earlier, there's 60 and 39 is the 2 lowest speed tiers, which is pretty exploitable. And the only 2 Trick Room setters are Whimsicott and Gengar, who never ever want to be clicking Trick Room. At most they're going to be doing Imprison Trick Room.
Gengar does.
Oh, not Whimsicott.
We got the Prankster Taunt. We got the Prankster Encore. We got
it'll be a battle.
It's like you need to play those mind games to try to stop Trick Room, or it's gonna. But you sometimes are gonna run into Terra Dark. At least you get to see the Terra Dark this season. How else are we beating this team?
Hoping Poos disconnects.
Sure. Wait, are y'all saying this is like up towards the top?
It's a pretty damn good team.
Is it better than Purple and Heavens? Is it right there?
Ooh, I do really, really like Heaven's team.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it between the 2.
Depth. Yeah, between makes sense.
Yeah, so we don't quite have the defensive tools right here. We don't have an Intimidate. We're not really designed to last unless we are Gudra and Gastrodon specifically.
Yeah.
Maybe you get a fair mileage out of Rotom with clicking the Wisps. It's not a defensive team. We're not playing defense with this team. But I think it's a good team.
After the Alola Momola.
Right,
before your team.
Right there.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, okay then. Yes. I'm putting it at the top. Yeah, cool. Let's finish Are we Yeah, we're still recording. Let's finish the Sun division with Bohm's team. Bohm has volunteered to introduce us to the Monkees team.
All right.
Can you reshare your screen real quick?
Vibes are
Yeah,
fantastic
I can.
as I share these screens. Bohm knows his team.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So, monkey team. Basically, had no idea what I was going to do this draft, and that's what I settled on when I realized what pick I got. So, always wanted to try Rillaboom, Great Mon, and Fernape, Monkey. Grafii, Slaking, wanted to bring back the duo.
Monkey.
Great duo. Great duo.
Yeah.
If I get to copycat Tailwind again, I will be the happiest person on earth. Oranguru, good Mon. I think I've used it at least one other season. Good Trick Room Mon. I'm not sure it's going to do too many Trick Room things here, but it's there.
It's the best Mon in history. I don't make the rules.
Very true. Very true. Primeape late edition, swapped it out for Passimian, which for Alligator 8. Just wanted to use something with a little more, as something that can have some more bulk and actually build up a little more speed than what Passimian was giving me. Ambipom, I think for what I paid for it, I think it's going to put in a little bit of work. I like the idea of it. It's supposed to have Technician instead of Runaway, I think.
Oh, it does for sure. Yeah.
Okay. For Alligator, Mascot, got to bring it in. Honorary Monkey.
Ain't a monkey.
Evolved from Monkey. Tropius was the original snack because monkeys like bananas. So overall, I mean, I gotta say I'm pumped about using this team again. I liked having Slaking and Grafii. I love Doodle. Goes right through Protect. For any of you who don't know about Doodle, I don't really mind saying it because
It goes through Protect. I forgot that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good luck stopping it unless you have a dark type.
And we
overall,
because we've got triple fighting types here.
Right.
And a comfy.
And a coffee. So overall, I think it's going to be a fun team to use. I think it's a little better than what I really expected when I just went in with the plan to draft Monkees. But there's just a lot of copycat pranksters. It's such a fun move. I mean, I can copy Tailwind. I can copy Trick Room on the start of the next turn if it lives through that turn. Just a lot of utility in Grafii that I think it's more of an underrated prankster mon, and it can also do some attack things. It has Unburden. Grassy Surge, Unburden. I mean, it might come. I don't think it's going to do much, but it might come.
95 attack, it's going to do something.
Yeah, I like the gunk shots and the knockoffs. Look, I'm going to say the elephant in the room is like, this team's not as functional. Like, given the restriction, like you ended up with 3 fighting types. And let's say we don't actually bring more than 1 fighting type, or we plan to Terra 1. It's still not good. Super great.
Still not good.
The defensive profile is not, in a word. But with that knowledge that this is not quite like on the level of like we've got infinite budget and 0 restrictions. It's a very cool team, and it should be very capable given, like, Infernape is a very versatile piece. It's got a ton of moves. Comfy is a very versatile piece by having Trick Room and Tailwind and priority moves with its ability. I think you've got a lot to work with here, and you just have to be very confusing. Like, ultimately, like, the fundamental equation is they Brave Bird you to death or they Psychic you to death. But as long as you can change the equation, right? Because I've got prankster nonsense, I've got fake outs, you got hella fake outs, and I've got a mon that can be setting Trick Room or Tailwind. If you have successfully confused the opponent, this team has power, it has a fair amount of bulk, and it has a Rangaroo, so it's great.
Yeah, Jordan, I just want to follow up on that. This team may not be functional, but it is functional. Bohm has smoked me before with a Grafii. I don't want to talk about it. It was a couple of years ago. We're not going to talk about it. But I do love this team as a connoisseur of monkeys. You have all sorts of things. You learn all sorts of things about humanity's evolution. We are normal. We are fighting. We are grass. But we are not bug, rock, dragon, steel, ghost, dark, steel, electric, or ice. But who needs those types? We have taunt and encore on every single Pokemon. This is my favorite team in the league. I went ahead and edited the draft thingy, the draft tier list, and put it on a tier above S. So you are the sole connoisseur of the M tier. Exactly. You got it. Yeah. So I'm very happy with this team. I think it's just where it needs to be. It has no parts, no improvements, no notes from me.
All right, well, I think the best teams in the conference are yet to come in the video you'll see in a day or two from now. I think there was a very, very high quality across the board, though, and some fun challenges. You guys want to say goodbye?
Goodbye. I love you. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.